Magna Certa provides an end-to-end solution for the issuance and verification of secure, tamper-evident health certificates, using the same proven and open standards that have made the World Wide Web operate for decades. First, a health organization such as a lab is onboarded and issued a certificate of authority. Then, additional organizations such as regional or local branches can be onboarded underneath, creating a hierarchy or chain of trust. Finally, each organization will onboard its individual users, who will be issued what we call digital pens. This will give them a digital signature, enabling them to issue and sign digital health certificates. Health certificates may contain the results of a diagnostic test, or acknowledgement of a vaccine being taken, for example, while also being able to bind the identity of the patient in different ways, including a photograph. The certificates have an embedded cryptographic proof, which can be verified in order to ensure that they have not been tampered with. They will also carry their chain of trust, making it easy for a verifier to see who signed it, the organization they belong to, and make sure their signing authority hasn't been revoked. These certificates are completely self-contained and don't depend on any cloud or blockchain, and can be ported both digitally and on paper through the use of 2D barcodes. Also, the certificates conform to open standards, maximizing interoperability and avoiding vendor lock-in. I'm going to show you a demo of the Magna Certa solution by going through an end-to-end flow using our different applications. First, we're going to issue a certificate to a patient that is tested negative for COVID-19. Then, we're going to use the Magna Certa wallet to import the certificate, acting as the patient. We will then use the Magna Certa Verifier app to scan that certificate and check its validity. Lastly, we will use the Magna Certa admin tool to revoke the signature that was used to issue the certificate. At that point, that certificate will be invalidated and should appear as invalid once we scan it again. So let's get going. First, I'm going to log into the Magna Certa Digital Pen web application, which is used by health practitioners in order to issue certificates to patients. This practitioner has completed the enrollment process after access was granted by his organization. I'm going to enter my credentials and log in. The first thing that I will do is select the type of certificate that I would like to issue. In this particular case, we will assume that we're issuing a certificate related to a negative PCR test, so I will click on Diagnostic Tests. Then I will click on the specific test that was administered. These choices can be managed by the health organization's administrator. At this point, I will enter the result of the PCR test, and I will also enter the patient's identity details that will be encoded into the certificate. Lastly, I will have the option to take a picture of the patient, which will also be encoded into the certificate. This is not required, but can be useful in properly identifying the patient. At this point, I'm ready to issue the certificate, so I will click on Finish and Issue Certificate. Now we've issued the certificate, and its 2D barcodes are displayed on the screen using animation. We also have the option to display the 4 individual 2D barcodes as an alternative. This certificate can now be scanned directly by the patient using the Magna Certa wallet application, or it can be emailed or printed for the patient. It's important to note that these certificates can be carried both digitally or on paper. I will now act as the patient and import this certificate using the Magna Certa wallet on my smartphone. The Magna Certa wallet is a native mobile application that is used for storing and displaying certificates. Now that we've issued a certificate, I'm going to open the Magna Certa wallet app and scan the animated 2D barcode displayed on the practitioner's screen. I could also scan the individual 2D barcodes that were emailed to me or printed out. I'm going to click on the Add button and then scan the certificate. After scanning, the app shows that my certificate is valid, and I can tap the information icon in order to see its contents. I will now click on the Add to Wallet button in order to store my certificate. Now my certificate appears as a card in my wallet and is ready to be used and displayed to a verifier, such as a border control checkpoint, an airline, a stadium, etc. When I tap on a card, the certificate's 2D barcodes will appear, and I can choose to show the 2D barcodes in this static layout or animated. Now I'm going to switch over to the Magna Certa Verifier application, which is a native application used by verifying authorities to confirm the validity of a certificate and to read its contents. When I open the Verifier app, it will immediately prompt me to scan a certificate. I will now scan the certificate that was issued, and the app immediately shows me the name of the subject, the picture that was encoded, and a green background confirming its validity. The Verifier app checks that the digital pen that issued the certificate has not been revoked. It also checks that the certificate was not tampered with, and finally, it checks the certificate's contents against configurable business logic. For example, a country might allow a negative PCR result that was issued within 48 hours, while another one will only accept those that were issued within 24 hours. Now we're going to go through the exercise of revoking the digital pen that issued the certificate. I'm going to navigate to the Magna Certa admin tool, which is a web application used to manage user access, among other administrative tasks. I'm going to act as the administrator of this lab and navigate to the digital pen's profile that I would like to revoke. I will now click on the Revoke Digital Pen button, which is an action that is irreversible, and all certificates that were issued by this digital pen will be invalidated. When we go back to the Verifier app and scan the same certificate we scanned earlier, it will now reflect as invalid. And there you have it. The certificate now shows a red background and a denied text at the top. I can still click on the information icon and see the contents of the certificate, but the status clearly says invalid. As you can see, the Magna Certa service includes multiple applications used by different stakeholders in the certificate ecosystem. The Magna Certa digital pen application used to issue certificates. The Magna Certa wallet used to store and display certificates. The Magna Certa Verifier, used to scan and validate certificates. And the Magna Certa admin tool, used to perform administrative functions and access to analytics. Please feel free to contact us if you have any questions or feedback. We would be delighted to hear from you.